Good afternoon, everyone. This is Julianna in the Stockyards, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I have a very special guest today on the podcast, Mr. Jim Austin, the man himself. He probably doesn't even need an introduction.
Well, good afternoon, Julianna. It's so good to be a guest on your show.
Usually you're running everything around here, so it's pretty nice that I have my own podcast now. Thank you for being a guest.
Yeah, we gotta start at the bottom and go to the top.
So, Mr. Austin, he is the founder and president of the board of National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum, also the Warehouse, and Jim Austin Online.
Yes, and the most important, the Austin Company Commercial Real Estate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A man of many trades.
Well, we got a lot going on over here. Sometimes you got to be diversified, so to pay the bills.
Yes.
So yes.
So, tell me a little bit about where the idea came for you to start the museum.
The museum was started the facto that someone approached us about having the Cowboys of Color benefit the Renaissance Cultural Center, the Dr. Marion Brooks. And I attended the rodeo probably some almost 30 years ago and discovered that 30 to 40% of the cowboys were Black, Hispanic, and Native American. So that kind of opened my eyes to see that we need to start something that highlighted this history. So my wife and I decided to start the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum to gather artifacts and share history about the forgotten cowboys.
And how did you go about getting these artifacts? Did people donate them to the museum?
Yeah, well, the first thing you do, you have to get a 501c dedication from the government, because if you have a museum, it's important that you're a nonprofit entity, unless you're independently wealthy and you can write the check and buy the items. But most people, if they give you something like that, they want to get a tax write-off. So we got our 501c3 in 2001 is when the museum, we're celebrating 20 years of existence. That's huge for any nonprofit to be around for 20 years. And once we did that, we put the call out that we had this museum. So we were getting stuff from barns, attics, basements. People would just start giving us stuff. So we filtered through that and gotten rid of a lot of the things that didn't have value to, having a very nice museum where you can learn about the history of the forgotten cowboys.
The museum is impressive, and to any of the viewers that have not ever been to the museum, I encourage you to go and walk through with Mr. Austin, because you will learn quite a bit.
Yeah, we relocated to the historic Stockyards, and we're on Main Street.
Yes, we are.
So 21st and Main. I encourage you to come by and visit. We have paintings, we have saddles, we have so much history about the forgotten cowboys, and you learn about the Black, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, white cowboys right here at the museum. We're at 2029 North Main on the corner of 21st and Main, one block south of Joe T. Garcia's.
We're right here with everything else up here in the Stockyards.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I want to take a step back in time to whenever you attended Howard University, and what do you feel like you got at Howard that helped you to get here?
What Howard did for me is they call Howard the Black Mecca. And when you're looking at universities around the world, you look at Howard University as an institution that gives you the tools to be successful. And I was so blessed to enter Howard in 1970 as a freshman, and my original major was pharmacy because I didn't know what I wanted to do. My next door neighbor was a pharmacist, and I worked in his business. So I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist. Well, it wasn't the fact that he was a pharmacy, it was the fact that he was in business. So after spending 2.5 years majoring in pharmacy, I discovered that you could major in business. And that's when I started to really enjoy school and going to class and taking marketing 101, management 101, and I went into the School of Business about 73, because I finished Howard in 1976. I was president of the student body, so I mean we had some things going on, and the School of Business was the second largest school at Howard next to liberal arts, and we had 1,100 students, and was president of the student body at Howard University. We had a slate. We had a vice president, a treasurer who were from Nigeria, and then we had a secretary, a class rep from the freshman, sophomore, junior. So we had some things going on. So that was something that I really enjoyed doing, and it gave me those skills to learn how to manage a student body, that if I ever want to run for office, I had already run for office and I won. So I have fond memories of that, and that picture of my slate hangs in my office right now, so yeah. So Howard University was a great experience.
So whenever you switched over to business, do you feel like a light switch, just like it flipped, that was what you really wanted?
Light came on. Light came on. I started enjoying school. Mr. Austin started wearing 3-piece suits and carrying a briefcase. And one of my classmates worked for IBM, Gerard, and he said, "Jim, I got an intern at IBM." And he said, "IBM installer." And that's when they came out with the new Electra typewriter. So I got a job at IBM as a part-time job. So I had to wear a white shirt and a tie to go to work, because that was the status of IBM. And my job was to go into government institutions, and they would deliver the box with the typewriter, crack it open, and then pluck, 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 make sure it worked. And it was a good job. I mean, I had my own expense account for mileage, so that was cool. So School of Business gave me the tools to learn how to manage, to do marketing. My degree was in marketing, and then being president of the student body, I was, I guess what you would call highly recruited. Wasn't playing no sports. I played intramural sports, quarterback. I guess I've always been a leader. I was the quarterback in intermittent, but I had interviewed with about 20 major corporations when I finished, before I graduated, to decide what I wanted to do.
Wow. Impressive resume already.
Yeah. I mean, I was excited about graduating, and I got an offer from American Express. They had just started a management training program, and they made me an offer. It wasn't back then, it was $13,500 back then. A lot of classmates were making $20,000, but it was just the opportunity to travel all over the world as a management trainee with American Express. So I joined them and stayed with them for 5 years after that.
Well, it sounds like you ended up where you wanted to be.
Well, it was interesting. I was spending a lot of time learning about all of American Express's businesses, because they were in credit card, traveler's checks, travel. So they had a big institution in Europe, in London. So we spent 3 weeks over there just hanging out, learning their business. But I got an offer to come to Fort Worth as to my first settlement with my own store. So when I came to Fort Worth, in 1977. The store was doing $750,000 in travel-related business, and we relocated from downtown Fort Worth to the Ridgemar Mall. And upon doing that, when I left American Express, we were doing $1.7 million in travel-related services.
Wow.
I said it was a claim credited to my management style, but it had a lot to do that we relocated from downtown that was dying into the mall. Yes.
So, speaking of Howard,
Yes.
recently it has been very difficult for high school students to get into Howard. There's so much popularity around it, especially with Kamala, that is now the vice president.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is your advice to someone that has aspirations going to?
Well, there were so many great individuals that graduated from Howard. So it's an institution of 100 and probably 50 years of great graduates from Howard. Thurgood Marshall, the Justice, Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther. He was a proud graduate of Howard. Debbie Allen, Felicia Rashad, and then you have the great news of now we have a female African American vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, and the word on Facebook and people excited about Howard that it's now become a very an institution of choice to go. And the level, it's always included people that were smart and leaders, but now it's just very hard to get into Howard University just because it being so popular.
There are very many notable alumni, especially you, Mr. Austin,
Me?
that come from there. And I can see where there is so much, popularity right now with it, and it's just growing. And I want that to, be what they're known for. All these great people coming out of there, that, getting these educations that, around the world, everyone is going to know what Howard University is.
Well, having graduated from Howard University and having relationships with many friends that graduated, my best friend in the world, we were roommates at Howard, and we have so many connections with our kids and friends. And then I'm a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi, and that was just a great experience of being there. But they've always been children of kings and queens that have attended Howard, because the people from Africa, South America, it was a multitude of people that came from around the world that attended Howard. We had a school of dentistry, engineering, architect, medicine, ministry, business. I mean, it was the place to be.
Interesting. That's great. And so the museum, where do you see the future of the business going?
The museum is a business, and a lot of people don't realize that having a museum, it is a business. It's a non-profit business. So we relocated to the historic Stockyards because I felt we're celebrating 20 years. So 3 years ago we moved up here, and I thought in order to spread the word a lot more better was to be in a location where people were coming to a destination.
Yes.
So the historic Stockyards is a destination. 3 million people come into the Stockyards to see the herd and to see the multitudes of other museums, and I hope to see me, because we have a beautiful institution that shares the history of the forgotten cowboys. Our website is cowboysofcolor.org. My name is Jim Austin, and my wife and I, Gloria, are the co-founders, and she's the executive director, and I am president of the board. And if you want some information, go to info@cowboysofcolor.org to learn more about what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes. And prior to coming here, I did not realize how much went into a museum, and having everyone know about it, and what it takes to maintain it. And so it's been very eye-opening and interesting for me to learn about it from you.
Well, we actually, the doors have been closed for a year because of the pandemic, but we will allow you to set up and take a tour. So myself or one of my staff will give you a tour. We just had a young kid, 7 years old, that came from New Mexico that didn't know of the museum, and it just was empowering to his family of 7. And this young man rode bulls, so I had a chance to talk with him, and he's going great places. Mr. Taylor Hooks. Parker Hooks. I'm sorry, Parker Hooks just got a text from his mom. He's going to be in town this weekend competing in the All-American bull riding competition for juniors. So, yeah. Fort Worth is where,
Wow.
Yeah, so we might go over and see him for sure to compete. But just a great young man. But yeah, make sure you come and visit us. You can call me at 817-922-9999, and someone will answer the phone and set up an appointment, or go visit the website, cowboysofcolor.org. I'm so glad that you've learned so much at being here at the museum and seeing what it takes to run a successful nonprofit.
Well, you've showed me all the different businesses, and it is very impressive what you are doing here, Mr. Austin. It's very impressive.
I'm glad to have you here as a recent graduate of Tarleton State University, and come see us. I mean, we're just having fun. We're having a lot of fun, and we plan to be here to build a world-class institution to the dedication of the forgotten cowboys. We represent the past, the present, and the future of the West here at the Multicultural Western Heritage Museum.
Well said.
Thank you.
All right, well, I want to thank you for being here today